All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Dave Mormon here, home service business coach. And what I wanted to talk to everybody about today was the power on going all in on your goals. And I want to honestly just share what I've found in my experience. I've been an entrepreneur now for 15 years. I've built up a few companies, and I've talked about that a lot on this podcast to you guys. But I wanted to really dial in three specific examples so that you can find the learning from this and how it applies to your specific circumstance. Because at the end of the day, I always find hearing, entrepreneurs that I look up to, when they kind of dig into their story a little bit more, I can see elements and themes of my story, and that can help me pull out learning from it. And so, I'll just launch right in and hopefully you can find some good learning and some good takeaways on this. So what I've found in growing up is when I get my mindset on a goal, I tend to just go all in on that goal. And I also believe that's what's helped create success. Now, you may find that in your life where when you get a goal and something you want to do, like you don't dabble with it, you just like go balls to the wall, like all in on it. And this is like a great strength as an entrepreneur, but it can also be a bit of a weakness because like we struggle with balance, right? And how do we actually be like a good family man and a good husband and get our fitness dialed in and go see the boys and play golf. And then also you got this business to run. And it's just like so much stuff to manage, right? And so I'll do some more content on how I balance my life because I'm always trying to work on that. But I do want to talk about how like singular focus on one thing at a time can really create success. So my first example is from my painting days, right? I ran a painting franchise called University First Class Painters. Okay. So from the age of 19 to about 25, I was really focused on painting, right? And so my main singular goal there was to first pay for business school. And once I was able to do that, I really set my sights towards getting into real estate. And prices have went up and got expensive all across the country, all across the world. But even back when I was doing this in 2012, 2013, things were expensive then too. For me, I signed on the dotted line on my first apartment. I put down, it was a $210,000 apartment, which today looks like a great deal. Back in the day, I'm 23 years old, moving out of my parents' house, and I'm scared that I'm spending every dollar I've saved from my painting business on that apartment. And I'm like, man, it's $1,000 a month of a mortgage. Like, how could I afford this? And like looking, in the future now, 10 years where we're at today, I'm like, man, a mortgage for $1,000 a month, like you can't even rent somewhere for $1,000 a month where I live. So it's like hindsight, looking back, you're like, it totally makes sense. But when you're in it and you're signing that contract of a sale, you're like, I'm really in it. And so that was my first example of really seeing, man, when I don't go out to parties and I don't, hang out late at night and I'm really focused towards a goal, I can achieve success. And I had seen snippets of this in my life before. I wanted to get a soccer scholarship. I was able to do that. I taught myself how to play the drums back in the day, even though I'm not like super musical. I'd done like some athletic things, but like this was the first time really in business that I was like, man, when I get my mind on a goal, like I can crush it. And so what happened was I laddered out of student painting. I did that for 4 years. And then I moved into our parent franchise for painting. And I ran that franchise for about 4 or so years after the student painting, and like got kind of a better client base, not working for homeowners who would hire students, had like a more professional name, but I already had all the knowledge of like how we market in neighborhoods and how I run an interview and how I go and sell a job, because it had been so natural for me before. I was just selling now on a higher level and charging a bit more. And I was able to shake that student name, which I felt for my own values was like a little bit incongruent, like trying to run a student painting company without being a student. it's just like a little bit weird. So I found that was kind of a fun new phase I was in. And I was just like, look, I'm going to go all in again and like do what I just did. But now I have a place. And there was in the neighborhood where I lived, there are what's called these coach homes for sale, which you could buy a detached home that had a basement suite, had a main house, and also had a house in the laneway, like a house in the laneway, more like a unit, like 500 square foot apartment above a garage. So there's like two structures you were buying. And these houses were literally across the street from my condo. And I had watched them go from like 500 grand to 600 grand to 700 grand. And they're like going up. And I'm like, man, these cash flow, at the time, money you could get for like 2 to 3% on like a 5-year fixed rate. And so what ended up happening, that was kind of my new goal of like what I wanted to work towards. And I went all in on that. And I painted, teams painted a whole bunch of houses, saved some money, did it again, and was able to save up a significant down payment, almost about 3 times what my previous down payment was on the condo. And I went in and bought the house across the street. And I remember taking my scooter there, and I scooted through the open house, and I was just like, I think this seems like a good deal. I've got some money to put down, and I didn't want to dabble in like the stock market, and I didn't want to keep it in a checking account. And part of my unique ability in business has always been to grow businesses fairly sustainably without having to take on like outside debt or like just take on huge ballsy risks. I'm like, man, I'd rather bootstrap this thing again. Even if you gave me 100 grand, I wouldn't go and spend that on Facebook ads. I would just keep doing what we're doing, what we teach with organic marketing and like sustainable growth. And so that was my first real example of like, hey, painting from 19 to 25 years old, very profitable, a lot of work, hired a lot of people, learned a lot of lessons. But I was able to get into real estate and really be like, this is sweet. Not that real estate always goes up, but that I was able to prove to myself, Dave, when you go all in on a goal and you work your butt off working on the thing, and you give up other things and sacrifice, you can achieve success, which is like super cool feeling to have. So that's first example, painting days. Second example in business is growing and building Revive, right? I started Revive when I was 26 years old, and from 26 to about 30, really big growth years. I took all my painting knowledge I had and I redeployed that on a different service, but still selling to a very similar clientele, albeit selling a smaller ticket, but a more profitable ticket and a more recurring ticket. And since we've added Christmas lights as well to our service offerings, and people ask me like, why did you start Revive? Why didn't you just keep painting? For me, I always loved a challenge, and I found like, when you're in a franchise, I'd say it's good. It's not great. You make good income, but it's not great. You don't own the brand. So I was ever like, if I'm going to sell this thing, oh, you could sell your franchise, but I'm like, man, I just don't know if someone would want to buy a franchise that makes 100 grand a year, but you're having to pay a royalty fee on every job. And for me, I grew it to like $500,000, and I just found paying a big royalty fee. And I just felt like really stuck, to be honest. And it wasn't that the franchise was bad. They did a decent job supporting me, but it was more just like, there's more of this angst and kind of calling in my own heart of like, go do something bigger and like do something like build a brand that you really love. And that coincided nicely with like the painting season, because the winter, I would have a few months off that I could go backpack and travel. And that's when I saw people that didn't have clean drinking water. And I came back to Canada and I thought, hey, what if I took my business skills, I painted, I bought a couple houses, great, but I want to do something more. And I want to really impact people who don't have what we have. Because like where I'm from is the west coast of Canada. Like I'm 40 minutes outside Vancouver. There's a lot of money here that people have. And so I thought, let's combine that passion for business, almost make a Venn diagram, passion for business, skills in the home service space, particularly residential affluent clients. What's in the middle there? And in the middle was marrying the two and building a for-profit sustainable business that also has a give back component to clean water. And so got really busy working on that. For 4 years, we grew very quickly. I had my painting business still running, which I didn't talk about a whole lot, but that's key. Going all in on one thing, yes. But I also had the painting running in the background. Now, some people could say that's a distraction. You should burn the ships, go all in. What I've found in business startup is your first 1 to 3 years tend to be a very humble start, and nobody knows about you, and you're just getting some traction going, and some traction requires money. And so I was able to take Revive's profits and just go right back into Revive, and then right back in and right back in and right back in, and didn't start taking a salary till like third year, really. Because the first 2 years we were small, right? We did 89 grand and 155. Like, we didn't crack $500,000 till the third year business. And so I had the painting running in the background, was still able to pay my bills, right? And I was single at the time. I was living on maybe 50, 60 grand a year, living the good life, but just not needing the money from washing. And that's what I found too, is keeping singular focus on what you're building. But if you're able to manage it and have something kicking in the background, I think it's better and not distracting. If the painting business was pulling me in 30 hours a week, that would be distracting. But I was able to optimize my time. It was maybe 10 hours, 15 hours a week of my time, maybe. And for me, that was a good trade-off. 15 hours, I can still make, 100 grand, including salary and profit, at least from that business. It was a good trade-off for me. So that was the second point. And a key thing I want to emphasize here too, in going all in on my goals, like, you've got to take some money and put some chips on the table if you're really serious about growing. And it might be easy, you're listening and, oh, Dave, you're going to push your coaching program. Of course I'm going to push it because I think it's amazing. But when I look back at the goals I've achieved, I paid a significant amount of money to the franchise that I was in for painting, right? They took a piece of every job that I did, and that's fine. They taught me being a 19-year-old student athlete, know nothing about business, into becoming business savvy. So that was an investment, I believe. Now, an investment to a point that I chose to move on because I didn't want to keep paying if I'm not getting enough value. Because I think business always needs to be an equal exchange of value. Point two, with Revive, I paid 20 grand plus to a business coach who I worked with for 15 months. It was literally a group coaching program. I'm in a community of other home service business owners, and I'm literally like the smallest guy there, right? Running 200K business when guys are doing 500,000, 750, $1 million plus. That's exactly where I want to be. I learned tons from that, and I was able to implement. So that's 2 times chips on the table, right? And I'll tell you my third example here, how I've went all in again, is on Home Service Business Coach. So I'm 34 years old today. So from 31 to 34, I've went all in on Home Service Business Coach. Now, similar thing. Revive's been running in the background, management team set up, able to pay me as I get Home Service Business Coach going. The first 2 years, invest, get going. But here's the other thing on investing. I'm north of $60,000 now invested into hiring 3 different business coaches to show me, Dave, you built offline businesses, great. Online is totally different. How are you going to figure this out? Am I going to go watch YouTube until 4 a.m.? No, I'm going to go to someone who's already built an online coaching business and not just got clients, but also got clients results. And so that's what I've done the last 3 years, is go all in with a business coach 3 times over. And we've been able to grow this business quite significantly over the last few years. And I believe that's not because of just stuff I've come up with on a whim. It's because I went direct to the expert. And so why did I start HSBC if I had a successful home service business running? Was because I believe, I think it's a Wayne Gretzky quote, I'm Canadian here, right? You got to skate to where the puck is going. And the market was telling me, people are asking me for questions. What do you do with Revive? Where do you get your uniforms printed? Who does your SEO? What does your emails look like when you go back to clients? What's your pricing structure? What lawyer did you hire for position agreements? How do you run an interview? Like, there's all these things you need to know to run a business, that I started answering these questions onesie, twosie, whatever, through Instagram. And then I started getting people asking, hey, can I pay you for an hour of your time? I said, sure, pay me $200. I'll jump on a Zoom call. And I did that. And I had 6 people then every Friday going 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10. I'd coach 6 hours in a row, right? And make $1,200 in a day. It was like exciting. So then I'd run Revive on 4 days a week, and I'd have Fridays just to pump Zoom calls. Well, then the 6 people became 12, and I'm not running 12 Zoom calls in a row. If you've done that, you know how tiring it can be. Then I figured out the group coaching model, and I made little cohorts, and then I started coaching 2 days a week. And then I built out a program, 8 different modules. This is what you need to do to dial it in. And I've now rebuilt the program, not 1, not 2, not 4, 6 different times I've rebuilt it. And I've invested thousands of hours to rebuild it. And now our program is killer. If you're running a service business, home service business, doing about 100 grand, stuck on the truck, not sure how to hire a team, make income, get jobs, get leads, et cetera, this is the program for you. Because it honestly, not to say all franchises are bad, but it breaks my heart. People pay a 50 grand down payment, then they sign to pay a 10-year, 10% royalty structure deal for the next 10 years. You sink a few hundred grand into buying your business, where I'm competing against that, saying, give us 10 cents on the dollar what you'd buy for that franchise, and we'll blow your mind what's possible here in this program. So that's why I created it, was out of a need for owner operators being stuck on the truck and actually wanting to have a business for time and freedom. And so again, going all in has created a great business. And I think if we chat in 4 years or 8 years or 12 years, there'll be a similar theme of me spinning something new up and having the other business still running, because I'm going on almost 10 years now of running 2 things at the same time. I think 8 years, 9 years kind of thing. So it's like, I'm not running away from my entrepreneurial roots, but I am very clear that it's tough to have 2 things and like make them make leapfrogging jumps. And typically in businesses, it takes me about 4 years to kind of figure it out. I mean, Malcolm Gladwell's wrote a book on this, right? The 10,000 hour rule. If you work full time on something, that's 2,000 hours a year. So in a period of 4 to 5 years, you kind of figure out what it is and what your skills are. And you should have a team by then, I believe. And you shouldn't be spinning your wheels. And just if your brain is entrepreneurial like mine is, you're probably going to find like that next opportunity where you can skate where the puck is going. And that's why it's beautiful to be an entrepreneur, because you can always kind of create something new out of nothing. So yeah, I want to sum up here though, 3 ways I've went all in on my goals to find success. And again, I don't want this to come across in a braggy, wow, business was so easy. Like, look at all my Lamborghinis. It's never been my style, nor do I own one, or will I ever. Just don't want to. But I want you to see the encouragement and the learning in this, that you can see snippets of this in your story and actually say, man, this really resonates with me, or really rings true for what I'm building with my business. And some of you might be early to your business right now, only 2 years in. Stay the course, man, because if you figure this out with your home service business, you have an opportunity. I don't believe it's passive income, but it's like income that flows in without you always having to be there is amazing, right? And I think a lot of owners would be stoked working 20 hours a week, making 200 grand profit per year from a 500-600K business. That would be successful, right? So if that's your goal, go all in on building that. And like, don't get distracted with Bitcoin and stocks and real estate and this and that. I only get real estate because it's good for the long haul, but it doesn't involve my time, right? I can count on one hand the hours involved per month of my time. And when I look at over a decade, it's a very good trade-off. So I'll leave you with my key learnings in literally 3 words, okay? Number 1 is learn. Get around people you can learn from. Nothing's new under the sun, right? It's biblical. So figure out who's already done what you want to do and get around that person and learn. If you sum up all my investment, it'd be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of like money I've went chips on the table, but I've got a return with that. And there's something funny in the brain that happens when you commit to something. you have a better chance of success. And look behind me, there's probably $3,000 of books just behind me, business books, right? 300 business books at $20 a piece. Maybe that's $6,000, whatever it is. It's not free. So very important to learn. Okay. 1, 2 is plan. Write down this stuff. Every goal I've ever achieved, I've written it down. I've got a vision board here beside me. Very visual person. You want to write down the goals where you want to be. You don't need to do affirmations in the mirror if you don't want to, but write down, if you want $1 million business, why do you want that? What is the profit that results from that? How many jobs a year is that? Who needs to be on your team to do that? How many trucks do you need? How many leads do you need? How many estimates do you need? How many jobs? How many weeks can we run a production calendar on? What does your man rate need to be per hour? If you don't figure this stuff out and you just say you want $1 million business, it's not going to happen. Very rare it's going to happen. The brain will work backwards from the goal that you set up to achieve. So you're programming your mind when you write it down. This is going to become a thing, and this is how we're going to do it. So that's your second word, is plan. Okay. Last final piece is action. You need to go get after it, because at the end of the day, all your buddies are going to sit around in the pub and have a great new business idea. And I'm scared to do this because of that. Like, who cares? Like, just go ahead and take action. When I got my business started, I started first flyering my first year and did, 51 grand my first year. And then I got courageous and I started knocking on doors, and I bought a new polo at American Eagle for $25, and I went and knocked on doors 3 evenings a week. And I doubled my sales to 105,000. I made $30,000 of profit in a summer when my buddies were making 10 grand a year, not running their own business. Okay. And then the second year we grew to 190,000. I made $55,000 of profit in the summer because of massive action I took. Wasn't how I felt that day. I just got after it and took action. And you may be looking at your business right now. Inflation, recession, the economy won't work in my market. If you want to make excuses, go for it. But that is the reason I believe that less than 10% of businesses actually succeed, is because the owner has the big enough balls to go and take the action and get after it. Because most people want to just sit and make excuses. And so if you want to be in the majority, do that. If you want to be in the minority and build a real service business that's profitable, and that's a really industry leader that you can get time and income from, then take some action and really build the business of your dreams. So I'm going to wrap there, everybody. I hope this call was impactful. I get pretty passionate about this because it's like very personal, sharing my business journey, but it is a theme that I've been reflecting on the last few weeks, and just wanted to bring some training to you so you can get a front row seat and just be like, man, this is possible to turn this service business into really fulfilling your dreams as a person. Because I've been doing this, and it's not just a 1-year fluke. I grew it and did it and sold it and whatever. This has been 15 years of doing this, and I've been able to build an amazing lifestyle for me and my family. And I don't think I'm any more gifted or special than you are. I just focused on learning, planning, and taking lots of action. So I'll leave this with you. Let me know in the comments if you found some good takeaways here, and look forward to chatting soon, everyone. It's Dave Moorman signing out.